Hi everyone, welcome. Have a seat. There's plenty of seats over on this side, so if you're standing in the back and want a seat, there's plenty over here. So welcome to Pokemon, Porn, and Pop Culture, aka using data that doesn't suck. I'm really glad that I successfully baited you with my really controversial headline. I promise there will be at least a little bit of both of those things. Not live. What we're actually here to talk to you about today is about blogging and what it's done for us and our community. So my name is Loree, and I work for Tableau Software on the Tableau public team. And I love it so much because it allows me to interact all the time with awesome people like Andy Kriebel and Peter Gilks, who are both like heroes of mine. And I'm so excited to have them here today. They both have really awesome blogs. Peter writes for Paint by Numbers, and Andy's is called VizWiz. You probably know that already because they're famous. Mine is called Jewelry because I'm not creative. So let's talk a little bit about why I started a blog and what it's done in my life. So I've always fancied myself with as someone with a point of view, that I've had a lot to say. And because of that, once blogging became like an art form, I decided I wanted to really try to have a blog. And I tried a lot of different things. In high school, I had a live journal that was just a bunch of like shitty poetry and songs that I wrote. In college, I tried to have a food blog where everything I wrote about, or every recipe I posted involved ramen, because that's what I could afford in college. And I've tried blogs about knitting and beer and music, and these are all things that I'm passionate about. But I've never gotten the kind of response and found a blogging community like the one I've found in Tableau. So my boss, Ben Jones, another awesome blogger, his blog is called Data Remixed. He said to me last year, this conference is the only one I've ever been to that's like a big family reunion, because we get to interact with all these people that we've been following on Twitter and that we've been reading their blogs. And he's totally right. Last year, I had been at Tableau for about 6 months and been blogging for most of that around this time last year for the conference. And it felt like a family reunion then, and it definitely feels like one now. Super like group hug time. I don't know if you noticed, but there's already been a lot of group hugs on this stage this morning, because I really mean it when I say it's like a family reunion. For example, that's why like me and Pete are best friends now. So last year at the welcome reception for Tableau conference, I got my wine, I was wandering around, like looking, seeing if I recognize any faces from a little 50 by 50 square, and I saw Peter. And I just ran up to him, and I'm like, Peter? And he's like, Jewel? And I said, oh my God, I love your blog. And he said the same. And then we were best friends. But it's
delicious too.
Huh?
It was delicious.
Oh yeah. But it's not just the camaraderie that makes being a blogger great. So I started throwing my vizzes up on my own blog because they just needed a place to live, and because I was trying to give viz of the day all the time. And if you want viz of the day, it helps if it's embedded on a blog. Just a little tip for you. But as I started posting more and more, and people started actually reading it, it became a totally different experience. So I was really excited for my first comment ever on my blog. It was actually from Joe Mako, which is like, oh my God, he's a legend. And he commented on my blog on a really silly post I made about, I don't know if you guys know the Aaron Carter #1 hit single, How I Beat Shaq, entirely factual accurate. I made a little viz about how Aaron Carter accomplished that feat. And obviously, it's not real data. I don't think Aaron Carter ever actually played Shaq at basketball, besides to film that video. But they did do a rematch, and Joe Mako commented. He said, yeah, we should have a viz of the rematch. And then he said, oh, but you probably shouldn't use bubble charts and link to a Stephen Few article, which is very Joe Mako. But the comments and suggestions and the response from the community actually really did make me a better vizzer. And as I started to consume more and more of everyone else's blogs, like people like Anya and people like Ryan Sleeper, you could see their work starting to have its effect on mine. And I started using the tricks they did. I started doing kind of the styles they did, and it was great, and I learned so much. And as I got more comfortable with my blog and it got easier to show my point of view, I started putting GIFs everywhere. I don't know if you noticed, I'm a fan of GIFs. I started writing in my own kind of speaking voice, and I started visiting on topics that really mattered to me and were interesting to me. And the more I did that, and the more the community knew my work, but they also just knew me. And I think that's a big reason why we could just meet each other in DC and all know each other. And sometimes, you know, they probably knew me a little too well from my blog. Yeah, take that in for a second. That's actually, my boss, Ben Jones, is the one who realized that this chart is about my period, because this is actually my music listening data. And he was like, why about every, like once a month, like every 30 days or so, you just start listening to sad music? I was like, oh, Ben, like, let me tell you something about being a girl. So something really unexpected started happening as my blog got more and more hits, and I started doing more tutorials because I really wanted to give back to this community of bloggers that have been helping me. And I've been posting my vizzes and published blog posts on Reddit, and some of them got really popular, like this Pokemon one. If you want good Reddit bait, Pokemon, and also porn, which you'll see in a second. But I'm making silly vizzes about Pokemon, and it's fun for me, and it's fun to show my friends. And one of the other little side note benefits of having a blog is that all of your friends and family that ask what is it you do, something with graphs or something, you can show them your blog and they instantly get it. So that's another nice thing. But the more my blog started getting hits, I started getting emails from people I didn't expect, recruiters. And creating vizzes on topics like Pokemon or like porn, this is the porn one. Take it in, guys, this is the porn moment. It didn't scare them away, it actually enticed them. They thought, wow, you can see data everywhere. You can see data in Pornhub, that's crazy. You obviously have a great analytical mind. And after I was like, oh, I'm so flattered. I was really surprised. But really, they were impressed by my ability to see data in the things I love, even if it's not necessarily anything related to what they're doing. They really were pretty impressed. And now no one could ever get me to leave the Tableau public team because I basically have the best job in the world. But it really proved something to me, which is it didn't matter that my data vizzes were silly or controversial or completely irrelevant to business or anything helpful. The best way to show your analytical prowess is really just making vizzes that are really interesting to you. Because if you're engaged, they're going to be engaged. And that's how it works. So if you want to get your name out there and get work and get recruiters hounding down your doors, but you can't share your vizzes because it's all proprietary data, I suggest just starting to get on Google and find data that's interesting to you, whether it's sports or fashion or Pokemon or porn, because when you're really engaged in your work, other people will be too. All right, that's it. So next we're going to hear a little bit from Andy. So like I said, Andy has an excellent blog. It's called VizWiz, and I think he's going to share a little bit about it.
All right, are we going to flip over to my computer? Oh, there it is. OK. So I started my blog in August 17th of 2009, and this is my very first blog post. So I wrote about pie charts. I sort of stumbled into Tableau. I was at Coca-Cola at the time, and they needed dashboards. So I Googled, dashboard software, and Tableau was the first thing that came up. So I downloaded it, installed it, and then presented at the first conference, which was 150 people. How many were at the first? Who here was at the very first Tableau conference? One? That's it? That's it? Okay. Only one, yes, we're a team. And then it got to the point where I was reading a lot of stuff, and I wanted to be able to just document things and remember how I did things. So that's what started my blog. It was just a way for me to be a personal diary, and I didn't think anybody would ever actually read it because I didn't realize there were that many people interested in this kind of stuff at the time. So one thing kind of led to another, and now I'm at Facebook, but which is kind of cool. So anyway, my blog is bizwiz.blogspot.com, so you can go there. And then, so some of the questions that Jewel wanted, do you want me to go through like the list of questions? Okay, so she sent us some good questions ahead of time, and I've done very little preparation for this. So sorry, I just presented before this too, so I'm like totally scatterbrained right now. Okay, so as far as like inspiration, where does my inspiration come from? I follow a ton of blogs and RSS feeds. So if you ever go to my blog and you go to this blog roll tab, that's like every single blog that I follow. I use Feedly. Now that Google Reader is extinct, I use Feedly as my way to consume all of these things, and I'm actually finding it hard. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but I'm finding it harder and harder to keep up because there's so much good content and there's always new blogs coming online, and I feel like I'm missing everything. So it's very hard. So sometimes my inspiration comes from, I usually blog in a couple of different areas. So I'll do like tips and tricks, like that's what this blog post is you see right now. But I will also, I started this thing that I call Makeover Monday, which is basically a way to take crappy visualizations and help people communicate better. Tableau happens to be the tool that I use to create them, but the principles I'm trying to teach people are tool agnostic. So, and like a good example, this is the one I did most recently. And I call it Makeover Monday. The idea was to do it every Monday, but it takes a really long time to write blog posts. Usually it takes me about like 15 minutes to build what I need to build, and then it takes me like 3 hours to write the blog post. So that's, I think, the biggest constraint is finding the time to write the blog post. So this is an example of kind of my theme for the makeovers is to basically take a crappy visualization and then just show a different way to present it. And I owe credit for slope charts to Alberto Cairo. I don't know if he's in, is Alberto in here? Alberto? Okay, he's a legend. Anyway, so that's that. So my idea, a lot of my ideas just come for the makeovers. They come from the RSS feeds. Sometimes I'll be like running and I'll hear an interesting stat, and I'll like make a note on my phone while I'm running to go download this data and build something. And I did that recently, but I don't remember which one it was. It was I think it was the first time I used story points a couple weeks ago. I heard this really interesting stat while I was running. So when I got home, I downloaded the data and built the thing all sweaty and stinky. And my wife asked me if I was ever going to shower that night. So, okay. So the next question then was, okay, so what kind of content is most popular? So I have this little section on my blog down here. I don't know if, wait, where am I going the wrong direction? Here we go, right here. So these are like my most popular posts, and I know it's kind of hard to see. Maybe I could make it a little bit bigger. I'll make it like gigantic. Okay, so I just, Google provides this, or Blogspot provides this for you automatically. And then you can see a lot of the things at the top are tips and tricks. But my most popular blog post ever, is this one that got picked up by the Huffington Post. And it's about how common is your birthday. And it's really simple. It was a visualization, and this started actually as a makeover. There was, and sorry, the resolution is kind of bad now. But so it started out as a post from from the Dataviz. And I did a makeover of it, and because I thought that it could be just done a little bit better, and the Huffington Post picked it up, and let's see how many, it has 219,000 views, so eventually I'll hit 250,000, so not too far away. And this was really fun, because when I went to, an interesting side note about this viz is, I went to my son's 4th grade class, or 5th grade class 2 years ago, and they wanted me to teach them about like what I do. And I told them that their teachers don't know what they're doing, and about with visualizations and stuff. I don't think the teachers really appreciated that, but they didn't deny it either. So maybe I something. But this was a really neat thing. So this is just like birthdays, and it's just frequency. It's just a heat map. And it was the kids were able. Fortunately, that classroom had one of those smart boards where you can go up and like touch it. So I presented that on it, and the kids were like running up because they wanted to see like, where's my birthday? And then we got into talking about like the birth cycles and how so many of the birthdays are in September. So what's 9 months before that? So imagine that conversation with 4th and 5th graders. So I was like, yeah, your mom and dad might have had probably a lot to drink, and so, and the teacher's back there like cutting me off. I'm like, let the kids guide the conversation, and we were moving soon anyway, so it didn't matter. So that was pretty funny. So my favorite blog post ever. I think my favorite one might be, I think one of my first one, because that was kind of like what got me going. I think Andy Cockgrave recently credited me with having the first Tableau blog. And I didn't know that at the time. I just wanted to write, and I love writing. Okay, what's been the best thing about getting involved in the blogging community? I think sharing with others. We have this motto at Facebook for giving more than you take, and I feel like blogging is a way for me to give back to the community. So, but I also take a lot from the community too. And there's also one of the things I would recommend to everybody is if you see something you like on a blog, just download the workbook and see how they built it if they don't provide the instructions. Steal from other people. Everybody in Tableau loves when their ideas are taken. I don't know. So, but I'm not as crafty as like Peter and Jewel. My stuff's typically very boring. Bar charts, line charts. I don't know, we have very different styles. So I think I've talked enough.
Okay. Good job. All right. Okay. All right, so my computer doesn't really have Wi-Fi, so Jules going to have to drive for me.
Oh, this should be fun.
So just try and, I guess, keep up, Jewel, like as I whiz around. Yeah, so I'm Peter Gilks. I work for Slalom Consulting, like it says on the T-shirt, in New York, like it also says on the T-shirts. I got into blogging Tableau blogging in 2012 is when I wrote my first post and made my first viz. Let's just see if Jewel can fix that.
Hold on.
I'll talk while you do that.
Yeah.
And it was about NBA basketball. I'm a big basketball fan, and I kind of had the intention of, I was reading a lot of the time, a lot of basketball analytics blogs, there's really many, many very good ones out there. And I thought I'd try and do my own, and I did one viz, and I wasn't very happy with it, and then that was it. And then I didn't do anything for another year. I just left it. It just sat on the internet with like 12 views hidden away. Then probably in about a year later after that, March 2013, we were doing, me and some of my colleagues, Carl, who's down there, ex-colleague now, and my other colleague, Lee, we had like a hackathon where, I guess because we're big nerds, and even though we do Tableau work all week, we met up on a Saturday and did our own personal Tableau hackathon. And Carl cooked some ribs, and it was great. But I came out with a viz I was pretty happy with in the end. And I wanted to get it onto Viz of the Day. So I emailed it to Andy Cockgrave and said, can you help me get this on Viz of the Day? And he said, well, it really needs to be on a blog if we're going to put it on Tableau Public. So I thought, OK, I've got a blog sat somewhere doing nothing. I'll put it on there. And that just re-kicks it off. So from there, I just kept doing more and more things on that blog and experimenting. And I really use it as a way to practice Tableau mostly. I can try things there. I feel like it's a safer environment than what I do at work. I work with companies who maybe don't want pictures of clouds with faces in their enterprise dashboards. So this gives me a chance to be creative, but also experiment with some of the functionality in Tableau as well, which then I can bring back to work later in a kind of more civilized format. So I think maybe I might skip to probably what was my favorite blog, if that's okay, Jewel. It's the skyscrapers one. So this is the one I was first really happy with. Like, I finished this and I thought, I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. So I just moved to New York last year. So a couple of things I'm quite nerdy about. One is numbers, obviously. The other is tall buildings. I really like tall buildings. So I thought I'm going to make a viz about skyscrapers. So I got the data from Wikipedia, and that has actually turned into a great resource for me. I get most of my data from Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is actually full of really, really interesting information, but it's just formatted in such a horrible way. And there's nothing that's in here that's not on Wikipedia in a list that says the 100 biggest skyscrapers in New York. But it's in a horrible text list, and the pictures are all small, and you don't know where they are, and all this kind of stuff. So I thought I could do better. So I came up with this viz idea. Maybe you could do some hovering, Jewel. See what happens. Oh, broken it.
Reload.
Yeah, there he goes.
Did I see Brian Brandau's fix for that in the last session? Yeah, that would fix that.
So this is all hover action. So you just hover over one of the lines, and these are arranged by height, but you can also switch to arrange when they were built. The star on the map shows you where in the city it is. A picture pops up. The pictures are great. Dan was talking about this in the last talk. The pictures are great in visors. They can be quite tricky in Tableau. And one of the things you can do, though, is use URLs. So all of these pictures are actually on Wikipedia. So that's just sending a link to a Wikipedia JPEG. And then I've got this little taxi guy down here, because I tried to make it sort of New York themed, which is I'm quite big on. Like theming my blogs using the tooltips. And then also if you hover over one of the stars, maybe, Jewel? Mm-hmm. It also tells you where to go. So it says, ask your taxi driver to take you to 36th Street and 5th Avenue. So I tried to make this like a kind of interactive thing that people can maybe look at before they take a trip to New York and figure out, if they're into tall buildings, what they would want to see. So that was the first one I was really, really happy with. I probably made that at some point last year. I think slightly before I joined Slalom. So this time last year, I was working for Barclays, and I was looking for a job actually in Tableau consulting after the conference, because I thought I kind of want to really get into this some more. And so when I sent my resume into Slalom, I also just sent a link to my blog, because I don't really feel that if you're applying for a job with Tableau, a written piece of paper really does the trick to get over, A, how enthusiastic you are about the product and data visualization, and doesn't really enable you to show your skill set. But at the same time, you can't just show them what you've done at another company, because it's proprietary data. So I did find that sending my blog really let them know, hey, I'm really into this. I'm obviously really, really into this. I'm doing it in my spare time, and show them some of the things that I've been doing. And if anybody applies to us now for a job, if I see they've got a link to some Tableau public work they've been doing, that's a massive bonus, because it shows that dedication, but it also lets me see what their skill set is. So I think that's an important part of what blogging is about. Let's show one more viz, shall we? Do you want to go to the walking around the streets one, Jewel? Mm-hmm. It's down there somewhere. Here it is. So this one's called 100 Blocks. So if you're thinking about doing blogging and Tableau public work, but you're not sure where to start, one of the great places to start is some of the contests that Tableau run. So Tableau have at least 3 contests that run up to the Iron Viz competition, and some of the ones throughout the year, I think, as well, and inspiration. So that gives you a kickstart of a topic to think about. This particular one was about quantified self. Now, I didn't really have any quantified self data. I had no interest in buying a Fitbit because it would be embarrassing. And I wanted to get this done, so I came up with the idea of doing a random walk. So actually, my patient wife and I started off at our house, which is over there in the East Village, and we kind of rolled a virtual dice everywhere we went, and we walked around New York, and we marked it, very manual kind of recording of data. And then we turned it into this viz. If you maybe scroll down and show the pictures hovering up. And we took photos everywhere we went, and they will, again, it's broken again, and they will pop up. So I guess I'm showing that just to see the kind of variety of data that you can work with. And even if you don't have the data, you can make the data. You can do something to create data that you can then use in a blog. So that's why I was pretty happy with how that worked out. I didn't win the contest, but that's okay. I Yeah, that's about it, I think.
All right. So then kind of next part of our session here is we're just going to kind of have a conversation about blogs. So I have some questions to ask you guys, and if you have some to ask each other or me. And we'll also be walking around with microphones. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. And once you have the mic, just kind of wave, someone wave so I can get your attention. The first question I have for you guys is, was there ever a post that you did not expect to get as many views as you do?
I haven't done anything on porn like you, so what's that? I think there's one that I did. Well, so you want something that we didn't expect to? That's a good question. I'll defer to Peter while I think.
Okay, so I built this one fairly recently called ball code. Maybe you can show it on the screen. People can see what I'm talking about. And that's got a lot of hits, like 10,000, I think. And it's simply a representation of the NBA season. There it is. So I did a little, went through a small phase last year of trying to create vizzes that weren't really interactive. They were actually more like posters that could be printed out and just kind of look nice on their own right. So this one was a bit of an experiment for me. And so what we've got here is this is the last NBA regular season, and we have every team, and then all of their games are either positive or negative, or the win or loss, and then they're colored by just the team. So you can see like how Philadelphia, sorry Andy, were terrible for the second half of the season.
Still
terrible. You can see how the Indiana Pacers dropped off and the Spurs kind of picked up. So that was one of my most popular posts, and I didn't think it would be that popular simply because there's not really any interaction there. You can't do anything with this. There's nothing to click on. You can hover over it and it shows you the score, but it's not that interesting. So it's more just a plain picture. So that taught me something actually about, I think, the power of just the visual without the interactivity. It's quite easy in Tableau to get carried away with adding massive amounts of interactivity, like 1,000 quick filters, parameters, everything clicks on everything. And when you're building it, you're thinking this is the best thing in the world. You know, everyone's going to know how to use this straight away because it's so easy. But sometimes people just want a picture, and I think that kind of taught me that lesson, actually.
So I think the one that surprised me the most is my fourth highest blog post is actually about Excel. Since I write so much about Tableau, it's really surprising. I guess people are probably trying to use Tableau and they're using Excel at the same time, but I guess you can't flip it over. But it's about how to create a dual-axis chart with overlapping bars and lines. And I think that's had like 50,000 page views on just how to do that. So it surprised me that something about maybe that's because it's Excel. Maybe that's why it surprised me that it's so popular.
All right, we have a question over here.
Yeah, given that you guys work in Tableau as often as you do, what is the feature that you guys are most looking forward to in the new upcoming version?
Parallel processing.
For me, it's all of the new map features. So the ability to search, and that I hadn't seen that actually. Nice. The lasso tool, that was new to me, so I was excited.
I would say from my work perspective, all the server performance stuff. From my blogging perspective, I think some of the map stuff looked really cool, actually. There didn't seem to be too much new on the real sort of powerful visuals side. No new viz types, I don't think, this time. But some of the stuff around that, the maps, I think, is going to be cool. I'm going to try out definitely when they release it.
Hi, thanks you guys for sharing everything that you guys do. It's really awesome and inspiring. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the processes that you guys employ to lift the data, where it may be from Wikipedia or some other sources. What processes do you guys employ?
copy and paste is mine.
About the same for me, too.
Yeah. I don't, I could probably learn how to do it in a scraping way and all this stuff. I haven't learned that, so I sit in front of the TV, watch some mind-numbing television, and do copy and paste. And that's literally all I do.
So the good thing about doing copying and pasting, too, is that because we use Tableau now, we never use Excel. So it keeps your Excel skills up because you have to copy and paste it into Excel. So it's a way to continue to actually launch that program.
So for me, lately I've been, I feel like I spend so much time on the internet searching for data sets that I've used all of them. I've seen all of them. You can't surprise me anymore with CSVs on the internet. So I'm at a point where I think most of my visits, I'm making my own data sets, and I'm doing that with scraping. And this is my favorite tool right here, Import.io, which is a really cool tool. They're a startup, it's free to use, and it's basically a browser, and I like to think of it as like the Tableau of data scraping because it's point and click. There's no programming at all. So they have a really great team. They do webinars every week. If you're interested, I did one for them about scraping with Import.io and then bringing it into Tableau. You can find that on my blog, actually, that tutorial. So I used them recently for, there's a local radio station here. It's called KXP. It's the best radio station in the world, you guys, if you have really indie hipster taste like me. They have actually an online playlist that's live updated and is every song they've played since 2001. And it's just in this beautiful table. And now that I know how to do web scraping, when I see beautiful tables, I say, oh, that's data. That's data. I can take that. So I used Import.io to scrape that whole thing. And I got all of the songs they played in 2013, and I made a viz about it. And that's actually probably my most popular post as far as, I don't know why this is taking so long, but that's probably my most popular post as far as views go, because people in Seattle really like KXP. So it got picked up quite a bit.
When starting out with a blog, you have from ground zero, how do you start to drive traffic towards it and build that audience?
How do you what?
Drive traffic.
Drive traffic to the weblog?
I get emails from people when they start blogs, and they say, hey, can you check it out? And if I like it, I'll add them to my blog roll, and I'll post it. If the content's good, people will find it. Mm-hmm.
So a really good thing to do is if you're publishing vizzes, send them to the Tableau public team, and we'll consider them for viz of the day. So that's always a nice little boost to your blog. We make sure to always link back to your blog when we select one of your things for viz of the day. The Twitter community is really active, so just tweet out to Andy or Peter or me, or a lot of Andy Cogrieve is a good one, just saying hey, I made this thing, don't you want to see it? So those are really good ways. And
yeah, I really just opened a Twitter account so I could kind of try and get this out there. That's where so Twitter's a big one, and yeah, Tableau Public. And then just word of mouth starts to spread a little bit. Mm-hmm. People in that active kind of blogging community will, if they see something they like, they'll definitely share it around and tell others about it.
And another thing you can do, we haven't really talked about, we all have kind of different styles of blogs. So Andy's is very tutorial based. He has just a wealth of information. Mine is mostly just dumb GIFs, but there's some stuff on there. But some people do really topical blogs, like Ramon Martinez with his health intelligence blog, or there's a couple people that have just sports blogs or things like that. And a lot of times going outside of the Tableau community and actually going to maybe, so my Pokemon one, I posted that on the Pokemon subreddit, because I'm these guys like Pokemon? Sure. And I put that blog post on there, and it got, I think, 7,000 hits on that first day, within the first couple hours, because Pokemon fans were pretty excited about it. So that's another thing to think about, is not just, do I want Tableau people to see this, but who else could benefit from this data? Any other questions? All right. Oh, this one's closer. Okay.
I'm getting ready to start a project that's all collecting personal data. Do you guys have any kind of tools or anything that you would suggest I mean, you made mention of the fact that like walking 100 blocks was kind of a bitch to do and, tracking everything, but is there anything that you guys are aware of that could be used to mine personal data or like just keep track of everything?
So I like to use if this then that a lot. So I use it to, for example, whenever I check in on Swarm, it used to be Foursquare, it'll log that to an if this spreadsheet in Google Docs, and then I could use that. I plan to do it at some point. I've been collecting it for like 4 years now. I should probably do something. So I use if this and that a lot.
Yeah, I do that as well. One thing if you read my blog, you'll know I'm really a big music fan. And so I like to make visualizations about what music I've listened to and, see the trends as you saw, see who I listen to when I'm on my period. So there's a great service called Last.fm, and that records all of your music listening, and it connects like directly to Spotify. So if you use Spotify a lot, like anything you listen to on Spotify will be recorded. I've been a data nerd for a long time, so I've had that going since 2005, and I just got like all of it. So I'm pretty excited about. Actually, this I don't know how well you can see, but this skirt is actually my music listening data. I don't know how many of you know, but I've been doing this thing all week where all of my skirts are datavizes, and I have a different chart type every day. I had bar charts, and then yesterday I had bubble chart because it was party day, and like bubble charts are the party chart. But today I wanted to, I had a lot of sessions, so I wanted to do something that Stephen Few would actually approve of. So I went with a line chart, and each color is a different genre actually. And it means nothing because I just repeated it over and over again, so you can't see the axis anymore. But that's what that is. You can see little bumps and drops of when my taste changes. So Last.fm is a good one. So we actually wrote a whole series of blog posts a couple months back. When was that? May? It was Quantified Self Month in May?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in May, in Tableau Public, we had Quantified Self Month, and we wrote a bunch of blog posts there. We had a contest that went. That's how Jeffrey Schaefer got into the Iron Viz. And so I did do kind of a roundup of some things that I do for data collection. So I actually have a folder on my iPhone for data collection apps. So there's the one for my period. It's like a little flower. They make it really cute. I can tell you exactly. I'm not going to say anymore. I was about to gross you out. Okay. There's a really great one called Reporter. And that one you can program your own questions, and it will randomly, like throughout the day, you can say like 10 times today, ask me these questions. And so I was doing it to track how many talking rains I drink in a day. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's definitely a talking rain habit among Tableau employees. So I was just wondering, like, at any given point of the day, like, when am I usually drinking a talking rain? So I had it ask me, like, what are you drinking? How's it going? Like, how do you feel? And I found that I was actually grumpier whenever I was drinking peach nectarine talking rain, so I stopped drinking it. So you can actually learn from this data. So that's another good quantified self app.
There's another good app, one I probably should have used for my viz, called Moves, which tracks where you go. And Craig Bloodworth in the Information Lab's done some cool stuff, visuals based on that in Tableau. So that's definitely a good one.
Oh, I have another good one, because we didn't talk about porn enough. So there is this app on the Apple Store, and it has the greatest name for what it is. It's an app that measures when you're copulating. So you put it on your phone, and it uses the accelerometer to see, like, and it guesses your thrusts per minute. It like measures, the microphone goes, so it has like your decibel level.
Should we go?
And it unlocks achievements. So it's like, oh, you did 7 days in a row. Like, great job. And wait for it, the name of this app is Spreadsheets. Download it immediately. It actually, I've been bothering them for a long time because they currently don't have like a very easy way to export your data. So I kept emailing them. Not that didn't mean to be a joke. They don't have a way to export your data.
It must be more about importing them.
So I've been emailing them a lot, saying like, if you're going to be a real quantified self app, I need CSVs. So they said it's in the works, though. So if you want to get it just and start building up your stats until that happens, you can do that. All right, question?
I'm going to defer my question because my mind's gone completely after that.
So most of the open source data that I come across is either weather data or accidents data, which is very boring for me. So I'm also very much interested in music and movies data. Now I can always go to YouTube and manually copy the likes or something. But do you know of any source where I can actually see, I can get data regarding trends of how the likes have probably increased over the days or weeks? Because otherwise I'll have to go every week and copy it myself.
So you can use tools like, so the one I was talking about earlier, import.io, you can actually set that up as an API and get it to do polls of certain things. So I've seen people use that for like IMDb data, like just pull it constantly. There are also, a lot of these services actually have APIs. So in a little plug for, I have a talk later at 3:30 called Pimp My Viz. And in it, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can use the Spotify API to pull popularity data out for songs. So that'll be in there. But for the most part, a lot of these, like where do you find the fun data questions, I just go to Reddit a lot of the times. Reddit is like a huge wealth of information on everything. There is a subreddit called r/datasets. And it's just datasets. And a lot of times you can ask people on there, like, hey, does anyone have something about movies? And they'll just be like, yeah, here it is. So that's a really great resource.
I give a little plug as well. I'm doing a talk later about data sift. So social media data and that kind of realm is actually these days pretty easy to get. So data sift is one, some other providers. And you can set up accounts with those guys and get like Twitter feeds and Facebook likes and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure Andy knows more about that than the rest of us here. But.
As far as me, like usually I just do a Google search and try to find what I'm looking for. Probably 90% of the time is spent like getting the data in the right shape. I haven't tried import.io before, so definitely be trying that going forward to help with that kind of thing. But
all right, do we have anyone? So I have a question for you guys. Do you look at analytics for your blogs?
Yes.
Do you like look at? Okay. Do you ever look at Google search terms that lead to your blogs?
Yes.
Are there any weird ones?
good question.
No, I think it's mostly disappointed elderly ladies who are looking for paint by numbers.
I would have to look. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, well, you made that really great Google Analytics dashboard.
Yeah, I
that
stole it
I've
from
actually,
them.
yeah.
I stole like an artist.
Nice. I obviously, since, as you've seen a little bit today, I have some interesting topic matter on my blog. So apparently, if you Google like all 718 Pokemon shapes and names or something like that, or like pictures and names, my blog is like the number 3 result. So a lot of people come to my blog thinking that they're going to get like Pokemon, I don't know, downloads or something. And then obviously a lot of porn leads to my blog.
I can try to find it if you want.
Anyone? Questions? All right, right here.
So my question is, how do you actually organize your blogging? I mean, is there like, do you set a schedule, or is it just if you get inspired, you start doing this? And connected with this question, how do you not get drawn into the social media like too much that, you know, like you have problems with your whatever private friends or something, offline friends?
Anyone want to go?
So in terms of having a schedule, I don't have one. I do it when I feel inspired. I try to keep myself honest and do one a month, as just to kind of, I know that, you know, I just want to keep it going, so I kind of self-enforce that. But it's not on a strict schedule. I also try to mix up my blog kind of each month. I try to do like a tips and tricks one month, and then maybe the next month a viz. also to try and keep the content fresh and appeal to a different range of people. But I also, and I don't really like plan my posts either. They just kind of, I have an idea and then I do it, and I generally do it in one go, which probably a little bit unusual. I think most people like to come back to it and look at it, but I like to just hammer it out and then send it off and then it's over with. So yeah, that's mine, kind of spontaneous really.
Yeah, so for me, what I found, when I first started blogging, I always had vizzes in it, and that was the point. It's, I made this viz, let me talk about it, let me show you what's in it. But if you're waiting to have a viz every time you want to post, your posts can get pretty few and far between, because sometimes you just go through a dry spell of data. So I started thinking about other things I can put on my blog to get me to blog more regularly and make sure that people know I'm still here, I'm still engaged with the community. So one thing I started doing is this idea of a data feed. So whenever I found data that I thought was interesting, but I didn't necessarily want to do anything with it, or it wasn't, maybe someone else could do something better, I started that section. So that's a really easy thing, because all I have to do is type like 2 sentences and find a GIF. That's my strategy. Actually, I'll show you. That's my entire strategy for the data feed. So if you go to my website, I have a little category up here, and you can see, yeah, it's just basically 2 sentences and a GIF. That's the strategy. And that was a really easy way for me to make it so I could blog a lot more. But for the most part, yeah, I actually try to, whenever there's a major holiday, I try to make a viz about that.
Actually, my only schedule is this conference, so 2 years in a row, that's a tradition. I've made a conference-themed viz.
Yeah.
This one was about rain, because people tell me it rains here. Turns out it doesn't rain as much as you thought. But yeah, so last year I did one about where we were going in Washington. This year I do this one. But in general, actually, doing a viz, I think, around something that's timely is quite a good idea. Like if you're going to do one about the World Cup, try and do it when the World Cup's happening. Don't do it a week later when everybody's forgotten about it. I think that's kind of responding to events is a pretty good way to go.
What about you, Andy? You're pretty prolific.
Yeah, I am much more regimented than you guys are, I think. But I have it on my calendar to write a blog post every Monday on the shuttle on the way to work. And I try to force myself into that small time frame so I can keep it brief. So I try to do at least 1 a week, sometimes 2, depending on how long it takes me. But I use Evernote to keep a list of all the things I want to blog about. So I have right now my backlog is about 30 blog posts long. Some of them take longer than others. So if I haven't posted in a while, I'll just grab one of those things. And usually I'll put like what I want my title to be for the blog post, and then I'll put a link to the original article that generated the idea or something like that.
All right, great.
My name is Jack King from the University of Kentucky. What is, if you all had a dream data set, what would it be? What would it be of?
Oh my.
I've been pestering my local bagel shop for their sales data. I want all the different bagel types, and I want to know what people have on them, and I want to create a live tracking of bagel choices. Like, do you get it toasted? Is it like everything? Low-fat cream cheese? I would find that very interesting. So that's my dream. I don't dream very big.
I love doing stuff with soccer data, so I wish Opta would make their data public. I would love to do stuff with player movement on the field and relate that to their statistics and things like that.
I would love data on online dating. I don't know if you guys have read the OkCupid blog, OK Trends, probably the best data blog ever. And it just started up again, and it's great. And if I could get my hands on that data set, so the way OkCupid works is you answer a question and you say, what's your answer? And then how would you prefer that the other person answer? Because it's not necessarily going to be the same answer. And it uses that to make a percentage. So not only do you have just general demographic kind of stuff, but also how many people, really kind of personal questions about there was one, Like, how do you keep your armpits? Are they shaved? Do you trim them? Like, you could get that kind of data from an online dating site, so that would be great. The other one, and if someone in this room could do this for me, I will worship you, is I found this website of Barbie information, and it has like every Barbie ever made and their model and their year and how much they cost originally and what they could go for now. And it's in this really weird JavaScript thing that I can't scrape. So if any of you, like, I'll sew you a viz skirt if you can give me the Barbie values data.
Is that Paul? It's for you, Paul. Yeah. Both of you can share it. I think one of the other things that, it's important that people know, kind of like, if they go to your blog, it's going to be really hard for people to see like your whole portfolio. So like recently, or not recently, but I recently updated it. I have, where is it now that I can't find it? Okay, I don't know if they can flip over to my screen or not. Gentlemen.
Can you guys flip to Andy's screen?
Hello? Can you guys? Hello?
There we go.
Oh, there it is. Oh, it's not down here. It's just, okay. I was looking the wrong direction. But basically, so if you're on Tableau Public, you get a page like this that has all of your visualizations on it. Well, I just post them on my blog as well, and I have it like categorized by like stuff I've created for soccer, and these are just I'm pulling the thumbnails from Tableau Public. But it's a really good way for you to like build a, like Peter was saying, like his resume. I mean, this is like your blog becomes like your resume then. So that would be a tip I would give people too. So and I just break it down into categories and stuff. So.
Over here.
So this question's for Jewel, because
All right.
I realized that I'm going to tell my wife about your skirt, and then I'm going to get shot because I don't know how you make them.
How to make this?
Yeah,
skirt?
how do you go from taking your data to your skirt?
So, so let me do like so that you can see what's happening here. So there's this awesome website. It's called spoonflower.com, and you can get them to print anything onto fabric or gift wrap or wallpaper. So if you want my skirt wrapping presents or on your walls, you can do that too. So you can upload any design you want. So I actually just took screenshots of vizzes I made, and I, tried to really find patterns that would repeat well. So there were a couple reject ones. I thought that scatter plots would look really cool. Instead, it just looked like, because the data I had was too clustery, so they were just like weird, like clusters of
like
stuff.
stains.
It wasn't good. Tomorrow is a tree map, by the way, so it's going to be really great. But yeah, so actually I haven't posted it on my blog yet, but I tweeted out yesterday the link of where to buy the fabric for the vizzes. And you can actually get it printed on like silk and like nice fabric. I've printed it on cheap stuff, but I might make nicer ones because I've gotten a lot of compliments. All right. Another question?
Well, we're actually just about out of time.
All
so.
right. Well, thank you all
Thank
for
you.
joining us. I really hope, like, if you've been driven to start a blog, please send it to me. I would love to read it.